All right, people. Here we are. It is another great episode of Nothing But the Facts. Sitting to my left is
me.
And sitting to his right is me. So it's me and me. Thing one, thing two. Dr. Seuss.
Oh my God.
So welcome to Nothing But
Seuss.
the Facts.
That's it. Franklyn G.
Okay.
Yeah, that's our live. It's your man Franklyn G, student Verley. You know how we do it. Just connecting you on a beautiful last Friday, 5th Friday of August. Another rendition after we finished the show. Been doing some running around. You know, we was watching the Aretha Franklin funeral. Was it a funeral? Or was it a homegoing service? That's what it is. I don't want to talk bad about her, you know, because she's the queen. But it's been going on all day. All day. They have all kind of folk up there speaking. That Bill Clinton speaking. Okay. I don't know. They had a lot of that. A couple of white ladies singing. What was that lady's name? Hill? Faith Hill?
Yeah, Faith.
She opened the show.
Faith Hill.
What was that all about?
Then,
I don't know.
What was her name? Grande.
I didn't see it. We were doing our show. I ain't wait to watch it.
Isn't Grande like a large size of a food Taco Bell?
I don't know about all that.
Grande.
Grande means big in several languages. Also French, grande mais vous. But I mean, you know.
You know, all languages, European or language like that, have a root.
It didn't even go into a minute before you hit the European word.
European.
Come on, man.
Languages have a
Aretha Franklin
root word.
Had a lot of folks up there talking. They were just taking the body out. This afternoon here in Vegas. It was kind of windy, beautiful day. The end of August, not 112. And I guess the funeral was over right now because they're getting ready to wheel the body out. I saw Minister Farrakhan sitting up there, and you know, I don't know if he got an opportunity to speak because during the day we got a YouTube, see if we can see what he said. But he was present, and you know, Sharpton was sitting next to Jesse, who was sitting next to Bill, sitting next to a lot of different preachers. Saw Gladys Knight sing. That was beautiful. Jennifer Hudson. You know, I mean, Chaka Khan I heard sing. Okay, Aretha's gone. It was a wonderful thing, you know, to have a commemorative service. It was closed with Stevie and a lot of other folks up there singing. But, you know, we grieve differently because this is also the same day they played John Mccain, the ex-war POW hero. I don't know if he got a congressional medal. I think he may got a Silver Star. But anyway, he got shot down and was captured and then became a congressman and then in the rotunda, so to speak. We walk. You just see some of the Republicans that they didn't even walk near the casket. But other Democrats who was friendly with him, you know, touched him and knew him. He had been there for 30 years, so if he'd been there for a minute, you probably knew him. If he was a millionaire and stuff, then you know. But you just see some of the response. You know, you get to see the dichotomy. One of the dichotomies, or it's more than a dichotomy. If it's more than two, some English person will correct me on that. But the differences in, you know, tale of two cities, two different Americas. The way African Americans mourn or have more show mourning, and the way I guess I'm gonna say white folks, because this was a man of stature, but he was, if not as popular, at least as popular as you could think. Aretha Franklin is known globally, but I'm sure that there are some cities that know him also because he was a friend of certain countries and he was in government for a long time. So he did have some means, access, and power. So a great loss to the country based on what they're saying, all this stuff about him. But there's a lot of stuff about him, you know, that, you know, he was a politician. You know, he voted against the Dr. King birthday being recognized in Arizona. Because Arizona was the last holdout state to recognize Dr. King. And then at the same time, he had Larry Fitzgerald speak at his funeral. He voted all out who he wanted to speak. 46 minus 1 wasn't there. He wasn't invited. You know, I guess he was disinvited after the things that he said earlier. But, you know, back to Aretha, not to commingle funerals, deaths, or complexities, but there's a lot of black folks out there, you know, all kind of preachers and manifestations of such.
Okay, let's unpack some of this real quick.
No, TD Jakes.
Because you have said
TD
a lot.
Jakes.
And so let's unpack some of this for a minute. Let's go back to
John
McCain,
John McCain,
European American.
No, just an American.
No. Let's see. Was he born in Canada?
No, he's born in what do you call it? Panama. City.
Panama. European American.
That's not
okay.
European. Panama,
all
Central
right,
America.
Panama. But a lot of Europeans moved over to Central America.
No, they moved to Argentina
after
the war.
No, but
all through the South.
Oh, so people just stay in one place. They don't
migrate
out. Because how did John McCain's fair skin get to Central America?
Easy because his father was a rear admiral. That's where they were stationed at a military base in Panama, which is recognized as part of the United States sovereign territory. His parents, although both of them may have been placed there and living there, they were Americans who were placed there. So come on, man.
Okay, so anyway. So anyhow, let's go back to John McCain.
Go back to Mr.
Let's go back to the Martin Luther King holiday for a second.
He didn't recognize it.
People can say anything that they like. I was watching all the coverage on John McCain. John McCain passed today, and it was on all night, all morning, and they kept just pumping it. You know, you have to stay up with current events, of course. I was watching.
5 minutes, I'm done.
You know what I'm saying? But
same thing with the Aretha Franklyn funeral.
Okay,
6 hours.
Come on. So I was sitting there watching. I was watching the John McCain coverage initially because they kept showing the same package of photos over and over while people were talking on MSNBC, and they were talking like John McCain was the greatest politician, senator, first congressman, then senator ever in American history, and how he was basically straight talk express, and you know, and how at the end he lamented in his last letter, that he wasn't perfect, but he never addressed any of anything.
Those are my guard dogs.
Oh yeah, they're going to the door. But he never addressed anything that had to do with race issues in America.
He did. He said no to King. That was a race issue. He said no to welfare reform. He said no to the welfare increase.
Okay. So this is exactly my point. So no matter how great they are fictitiously making him, he was a flip-flopper. He never really stood on one side of an issue or on the other. It all depended on how many times he... Wait, let me finish my point. It doesn't matter how many times... I followed John McCain for many years, especially during the time when he was running, previously before, because they always talked about his war hero in his book, and, you know, I always equated him to Audie Murphy. I say, well, how come... But anyway... That's a whole nother story.
I don't know who Audie Murphy was, man. Audie Murphy was a killer.
You know what? They have to go...
Audie Murphy was a killer.
Audie Murphy also checked out early.
Really got congressional medal.
But he checked out early.
I mean, no difference check out early. He did a lot of crazy shit.
He wasn't a POW. But anyway, look.
Audie Murphy was a killer.
My main point is he never addressed race issues except for to be on the wrong side of history. So no matter how great they want to portray him to be in the media, in the European American media.
Just American media.
European American media. No matter how great they want to make him and have him say to be, he was not great for black people, so thus he was not great.
I don't know about
that. That's
the
what
masses will disagree and history will disagree.
No,
he did some great things. What did he do? The bottom line is, he was elected to Senate.
He wasn't on the wrong side. Oh, he was elected to Senate. So was President Obama. But for 8 years, for 8 years, they said he wasn't an American citizen.
Come on.
For 8 years strong, they talked about. I mean, I'm just saying. Here's two great Americans. Two great Americans. One born in Panama. The other one born in Hawaii.
You're reaching now. That's
right.
That's a reach.
Born in Hawaii, and for some reason, Hawaii seems more closer to America than Panama.
Panama Naval Base.
Okay, well, I'm saying, but it seems closer than Panama. Panama was always considered the other.
Let's go back.
Right. No. Let me finish. So what I'm saying is,
I don't know what you're saying.
For 8 years, President Obama said he wasn't a citizen.
No, that doesn't do with it. That was in John
great
McCain.
Citizen. Now, John McCain is on the wrong side of history and will go down in history as being on the wrong side of history as far as race relations are concerned.
No.
And as far as that's concerned, he's not a great man in my eyes. Now,
that's a better statement. But as far
I just said that. I said that first, but then you rebuked it, so rebuked it, so I had to come back and
there are other things you were saying that He voted on the side of where he was. That's what it was. He was a Republican. He voted against several things.
And we know that the Republicans come from the Dixiecrats who said that the South, that the Democrats would never take the South again. After Johnson started signing the Civil Rights Bill, he said it because he had already talked to the people and they said it. So there you go.
He knew.
So he knew.
He knew what he was doing was the right thing.
He knew it was the right thing.
And he wasn't going to run for president again. You constantly make that statement. He knew he only had one term as president, and he wanted to do something to be impactful. We're talking about Johnson because he knew that he thought his hereditary bloodline of his grandfather and his grandfather and his great-grandfather both died in their mid-60s. He was 62, and he did not want to spend the last years of his life as a president. He thought he was going to die. And just as it was, within 3 years of his non-running for the term of president, his second term, he passed away. So he would have died mid-term. Okay. Mid-term. Okay. And he didn't want that. Okay. So I didn't
care about. No. Listen, I didn't say that we never got into discussion if he would be elected again. He said they would never take it, and his people who were Democrats, who were Dixiecrats,
who went along with this, switched over to the Republicans.
Did they not switch over to Republicans?
That I don't know. Because the bottom line is,
we don't know that. That's in history.
No. You're mixing history. You said that he did not run because he knew he lost the South.
No, I didn't. I never said anything about him running. I didn't say anything about him running again. I didn't say about him having only one term. I said he said that I told you that they said that the Democrats would never take the South again because of him signing the Civil Rights Act. That don't have anything. If he did 1 term, 2 terms, did Roosevelt did 8 terms, I don't
know how we went from Aretha Franklin to Johnson.
So because you brought Johnson,
you tried to attach Obama and John McCain. That's even crazy.
No. Look, so John McCain. That's crazy. John McCain is gone. See you later. Now let's get on Aretha Franklin, who has always been on the right side of history as far as civil rights, human rights, black person rights in the United States, European America.
I know I keep calling it European. This is America. We are let that go.
So we are.
That doesn't work for me.
That doesn't work.
Does that work for y'all? Here we go to dual citizenship. Does that work for y'all? Y'all already had to make tell this is America. We ain't got nothing to do with Europe.
Yeah, right.
This is America, brother.
They're European Americans, and we are Black Americans. No. And not necessarily does that mix. Not necessarily.
Look, if you don't think it mixed, go to the mall.
Go to the mall. So much does that mix.
Go to the mall. The further down south you are, the more integrated we are. Go to the mall. Go how many brothers are pushing around babies? How many grandmothers are pushing around babies with kinky hair? You are absolutely incorrect. This is America. It's nothing to do with Europe. Cut that nonsense out. I'm not going to stand for that as a person who wants to make America great again for all Americans. I'm taking that phrase over because ain't I American too?
Aren't you American?
I'm American, man. So if you're going to make it great, that means NBA season is going to go on another 16 weeks. That means there'll be more football. That means that Soul Train's coming back. Make America great. I like George Jefferson too. Bring back good black TV. Because we got good black films. Even though no one's talking about Spike Lee's movie after all the Negroes that are watching. Oh, Wakanda.
I mean, I don't know what you. I don't know that was shown. That particular statement was shown to be falsy last week when it's out doing the projections that even Spike Lee had. And if you watch, that's what Spike Lee said. I can only go what comes out the man's mouth. Now, unless he's lying to the people or lying to himself, I can only go by what.
What are the people saying?
What he said.
He said.
About
she said.
Right. So that's the only thing I can go by. Is by what he said, which was that it's doing better than his projections. The people are posting.
Tell them this is America.
So,
don't you remember what's his name video?
Who?
They all loved that video a few weeks ago. America, the guy in Childish Gambino.
More than a few weeks ago.
When was that? That was like in the beginning of the year.
And then what did the guy do after that?
Nothing.
People in Chicago were dancing outside, and the police came up and said, "Well, you're not gonna be able to dance anymore and dance your way away, dance your fear away, because we want to shoot you in the back of the head while all you were doing outside was dancing." As that video critiques that while this is going on, young black people are
trying
to.
We gotta get the 8-ball answer. See that?
Young black people are trying to escape through entertainment. He said, "No more entertainment for you."
The 8-ball says, "Ask it another time."
Ask
every now and then we're gonna have to consult the 8-ball because I realize sometimes we just get out of it.
Now, why we gotta consult the 8-ball?
It's made in Korea.
Behind the 8-ball.
Behind the 8-ball. 8-ball flew. You still got an 8-ball? In any event, he went from Aretha Franklin. Obama wasn't at the event. Obama had.
I'm not gonna say anything about Obama.
He's busy. He got to speak tomorrow for
McCain. I will
he's
say this.
Tomorrow. Is it tomorrow for McCain or Sunday?
He's speaking for McCain. It's supposed to be
Michelle,
tomorrow, right?
Is it tomorrow?
Right.
Saturday.
But I remember when Tavis.
It's Labor Day weekend.
Wait a minute. I remember when Tavis was having the State of the Union. He would have his annual. It was shown on C-SPAN.
Yeah, it was.
And I remember that. And he wanted then candidate Obama to
speak, and he couldn't.
And right. But he said that he would send his wife in his stead because, you know, when people are married, they are one. And so that person who is intelligent, just as intelligent and worldly as he is, could spend in his stead. He could have sent Michelle to the funeral.
So
he did a homegoing. But he didn't. So that's all I'll say about that. I'll say
Michelle got her own calendar. It's an independent woman thing. You can't.
Wow, what a difference! What a difference!
Yeah, you're crazy. Anyway, it's Labor Day. You know what Labor Day means?
Go ahead.
Labor Day is for people who work, workers, people who do labor. So do celebrate that because you're here in Vegas. You know, they used to have big labor movement here until the culinary union got bought out. Yeah, I said it. But the bottom line is they have political aspirations and they think, you know, that's the way to go. I remember when culinary union was African American based. Like they're trying to say now with these elections. Democratic base. What is the base? You know what the base is? Us. Let's move to Florida real quick because this guy just won in Florida. He's the mayor of Tallahassee, a FAMU graduate. He's been around for a while doing some things. Mr. Gillum, congratulations. You won the Democratic nod for gubernatorial race in Florida against a man who's already called you a monkey. Did you know that? Did you hear that?
Are we supposed to be upset because racists are showing us what we already knew that they were?
Well,
that would be animal, listed, low down, lower natured, having beast.
Come on.
I mean, are we really upset about that? Is that something that's going to get us upset? No, wait a minute.
Come on.
Are we actually going to be upset?
Politics is a beast, though. Politics is a beast.
Are we actually going to be upset because he called him a monkey?
He didn't call him a monkey. He made a monkey reference.
Okay. Well, calling him a monkey or making a monkey reference is alluding to. Okay, making a monkey reference is alluding to the fact that
it's the loophole he'll pass through to say he didn't mean it that way, and you, in fact, for inferring that are a racist. That's what they say. That's what they say.
Right. So
that's what they say.
So knowing,
why would you conceptualize
knowing that would be any different than what they already usually do? Why are you shocked about that? Why are you upset?
I don't say I'm shocked, but the reality and the complexity of the other end of that.
Wait a minute, is that supposed to get us to get up and get motivated to go out and vote because he alluded to him as being a monkey? Well, I tell you, if you really know what a monkey looks like, you should shave a monkey down. Look at his thin lips.
Can't catch a monkey and shave it. We will shave a monkey.
It's flat behind, and see who the monkey really looks like.
Trying to get Peter on us. In any event,
you know what I'm saying?
A reference was made. It's a
you got to know how to throw it back at him. You know, look what the monkey really looks like when you shave him down.
Everybody's doing that.
Yeah, I'm just saying, but they should see those thin lips and that flat behind. Who really looks like a monkey? I'm just saying.
Oh man,
you know, Yaqub. The story of Yaqub said it.
Oh, here we go.
But anyway,
the reality of grabbing a monkey, shaving him is not something anybody should do. First off,
it really should shave it down.
Second, get out of here.
Because you know, if they're gonna make Aretha Franklin's family, if they're gonna make Aretha Franklin's family,
what? Now
if they're gonna make Aretha Franklin's family, have to turn in the furs.
Where you get that
because
from?
of PETA. They're gonna make them turn.
You
haven't watched that? You haven't watched the news? No. PETA told the Franklin family that they should turn over all of Aretha Franklin's furs because that was abuse to animals, and they want to do. I guess I don't know what they want to do. I guess they want to sell them because they were Aretha Franklin's furs, but they say it was wrong for her to have all those furs, so turn them over.
Okay, the hell with PETA anyway.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. So
I'm
PETA,
down with not beating horses and killing dogs and all that stuff, but if she paid the money to make it from the furrier she bought it from, she deserves to keep it. What they should do is donate them to what they have. I'm sure they'll have an Aretha Franklin wing now, or they will have one in the Smithsonian because it's supposed to be an ongoing African American thing. So maybe she'll donate one with a pair of them red shoes. Bottom line is Aretha Franklin. We're back on that. If we ever just come right back to that, we've been here 20 minutes talking about Aretha Franklin. The funeral was just ended, but.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Back to the
let's
election.
talk about the funeral.
Stay with the, let's talk. Stay with the election. We already passed that.
No. We have to go on. Why was Farrakhan sitting up there on the stage, and they never had Farrakhan? Yes, they did. My wife was watching.
He may have spoken at a point that wasn't delivered on television.
No.
Yeah.
No.
We gotta find out before we castigate. Before we cast, let's
all
find out.
of the channels. Listen, people. This is how we get over the fact that someone decided to have something about John McCain on the same day when his thing was Saturday. Is his main
they had the
eulogy and all that is
Two
Sunday.
different things.
It's Saturday. Okay, well we had a viewing of Aretha Franklin, but they didn't choose to put it on TV.
No.
Main point is
they had it
even Steele, what is his name? Michael Steele. Even he said on This Morning on MSNBC, it's curious that they would choose to have this on the same day as he said that this morning. So wait. Let me say this.
Republican.
All of the channels, CBS, Huffington Post, all of them had live feed, uninterrupted feed on YouTube. On YouTube, so you could watch it all the way. No, TV One stopped it at about TV One stopped at about 12.
I'm with that.
And then there was some reason why they didn't go to full 6 hours, and it's over the internet.
I wouldn't go.
They went to full. Everyone else went to full time.
I would.
TV One stopped.
I would have done that.
And you know, all of the dignity. All they wanted to care about was to hear Clinton speak. But you know what though? Clinton leaving early. It never ceases to amaze me.
He never left early. You can't
it never ceases to amaze me. Wait a minute, that's leaving early because you're supposed to sit. How many times do we talk about how? No, wait a minute, hold it.
If you looked at the crowd,
Sharpton is in the black community.
So.
Sharpton can never be questioned on his ability and his ability to work for and his love for his people.
So he should sit in the funeral for 6 hours?
Now, wait a minute. Let me finish. Well, yes, because Jesse Jackson sat there.
Got nothing else to do. He's from Detroit.
So what? Okay, anyway, listen. It behooves me the fact that the Clintons...
Go ahead, mystifies you.
Yes, the Clintons cannot mystify behoove.
No,
behoove.
They ain't behoove.
Yeah. Look, it behooves me the fact that the Clintons cannot read the temperature in the room anymore.
I don't believe that.
They were so used to being beloved. He was considered the first black president
by none.
By all the people. He's the first one. He plays the saxophone. He wears a size 15 shoe. He was on Arsenio Hall. And yes, he once tried pot, but he didn't inhale.
This guy, oh boy.
Oh, I once tried pot, but I didn't inhale. Now listen.
That's a terrible imitation.
Now listen.
That's terrible.
Listen, that's my standard white voice.
That's not
Lorraine, Ohio.
Yes, not Lorraine.
Yes. Super host. That's just how John Boehner sounded. If you ever go to YouTube, look up Super Host on Channel 43 and watch the video when he goes, Super Host. He sounds just like John Boehner. And John Boehner was from Ohio, and he had that Ohio voice.
Where are we?
And that's how I remember white men sounding. Super Host. But anyway, listen. I don't care what the 8-ball says.
All right.
I don't care what the 8-ball says. Hold up on the 8-ball. Hold up on the 8-ball for a minute. Listen.
We're going.
Listen, this is what I'm saying to you. They do not know how to read the temperature in the room. You do not leave. Then Michael Eric Dyson gets up and he does his intro and he says to President Clinton and first wife Hillary Clinton, and then he cuts a look, and the audience starts to laugh. She might as well forget about running. If she thought she was going to come back and run again, she can forget about it. Then he says, and to our next president-elect, Eric Holder, and then the crowd goes crazy. So if she thought that coming out to smooth a little bit, hug, take some photo ops, and do all that was going to bring her back for a third time, she should have stayed to the very end till the janitor was sweeping.
Oh my God!
And then she would have had a chance for her just coming in for photo ops and saying, "Look, we're here," and patting the heads like George Bush did. The one black guy, they wanted to take a picture with him out there in the park one time, and he was patting him on his head. I would have pat George Bush right back on his head if he had patted me on my head. Yes, sir. But anyway, listen. So if they do that, they can forget about it. Do not wield Geritol back out again, okay? Because we're tired of the Geritol. Do not wield out her opponent for the Democratic nomination. Do not wield him out. I can't even think of his name right now.
I'm not helping you because you're alone. You're alone. I'm leaving you alone.
Don't roll him back out there, please. We want to be indoctrinated with Kamala Harris.
I don't want to be indoctrinated
before we finally get Eric Holder, okay? Because you know we're calling who we want. Eric Michael Dyson.
You are.
No, Eric Michael Dyson dropped the gauntlet down and said, Holder. Eric Holder.
Not for me.
He said that. So that's what he said. And it should be light-skinned man solidarity.
Oh man, please.
Light-skinned man solidarity.
Right.
Plus he has a mixed Caribbean background too. So it should be like that's just like how I asked my people one time. Because my people are mixed, you know what I'm saying? My people are mixed.
Mixed what?
Right? And then they're mixed with white, and I got this beautiful complexion because they love the black men or black women, and here we are with this beautiful complexion. So anyway, listen. Wait, hold up on the 8 ball. We don't want to hear the 8 ball. We don't want to hear the 8 ball right now. Listen, okay, hold up on the 8 ball for a minute. So listen, I once asked him because we had Frank Jackson. He was the mayor.
Here we go.
He was the mayor of Cleveland, and I said, "You're gonna vote for Frank Jackson?" I'm not voting for Frank Jackson. I said, "But you should because he's mixed like you."
See, that's not his faulty thing. Oh boy.
Woo!
You swimming alone,
so coming from that, no, I'm swimming. I always learn to swim.
You're doing the death stroke.
Doing the rhythm of the stroke.
The fact that now, if we can add a different perspective, the fact that Mr. Clinton, President Clinton, First Lady, former First Lady, decided to come.
They decided to come for what reason?
Doesn't make a difference.
No, it's a reason.
No.
It's a reason.
Maybe. You have to just hope that they came out of the sincere faith and desire that they appreciated her life, her commitment, and what she personally has done for them in that town as one of the main components of the campaign stuff she did down there.
Oh, really?
So I'm not against. I don't know. I didn't live down there, but I recognize that Aretha Franklin did a lot of stuff. And if she came and sang at a benefit, as I'm sure she did, she came and sang at several White Houses, as I'm sure she did, Republican and Democrat. The fact that they came to show something that they probably got on program requested by the family is an honor. So I'm not going to let you take away from that. Said they had to depart, they can stay there. I've been to funerals before. At a certain point,
do you sitting up on the dais?
Wait. Yes.
And you got up and left?
Yes.
After you spoke?
Yes.
Well, that sure is. No one else is that important.
No, it's not about importance. It's about
they did that last time with Rosa Parks.
Well, they did the same thing with my journey, but the bottom line is I had to catch a plane. I flew in to do this. I had to catch a plane. But the reality is, if you come to show somebody some respect at their passing, there is really nothing, no thought. Even as the pastor spoke and went out of line, I thought the guy, you can't diminish what it is.
Jasper Williams, who disparaged Reverend Franklin.
That's your. I didn't hear it, but I know that C.L. Franklin.
You didn't hear it.
We'll talk about C.L. Franklin in a
minute. Well, when you watch the playback.
Well, you'll watch it.
You'll be
that's
like,
the kind
what?
of guy you are. I'm not worried about a 6-hour funeral. As I said.
No, you can fast forward with the scrubber. No, you can scrub down to where you want to do because it's so right there. You just scrub down and you can get right to him, and he will be talking about how C.L. Franklin wasn't the greatest father because there were certain things that happened, and then somehow he tried to clean it up by talking about. That's right. That's why I retain things because I'm not on that. So I'm going to be able to retain and talk and say, look, Then he goes around. Then he goes around, and then he goes around and wraps it back around to talking about how they were in Memphis and how the black folks were upset because he said at 8 o'clock he was speaking through his eagle shakes her nest, and then later, 2 hours later, Aretha Franklin would be singing blues, and everybody was upset. So they were like, "Why is he sitting down after he finished his sermon? Why is he sitting down?" And then he got on the mic and said, "Look, if you thought I wasn't gonna hear my daughter sing," so he just went all around the bush. That was like one of the worst eulogies.
Agreed. Finally, an agreement.
I have
ever took half an hour. Finally, an agreement.
And they could have just sat him down and brought Farrakhan. How come Farrakhan did not speak?
Because I'm sure we did not see his portion. We don't know what happened. We have to wait until the jury's put out. But the jury's still out on that one. But
no, that's not.
C.L. Franklin did deliver some great eulogies, and one of the ones was the eagle nest. Probably you should describe it. You know that sermon? Have you ever heard that sermon? It's a beautiful sermon. He talks about the mother eagle and how she prepares a beautiful nest as she goes out, all prior to delivering the eggs to the nest. That it's lots of feathers and things that are soft, and it's made for the chicks, just like you would do your home. And he talked about the majestic flight of the eagle and how its mother would watch out over it and go out and work and come back with things to satisfy the nest. But over time, the nest, she wanted the birds to develop their own sense of responsibility. So she made the nest a little bit more uncomfortable. And I guess she was directing this towards African-American parents, in fact, African-American females who are the main nest carriers and bringers. And she said at a certain time, you have to try to make sure that it's not so comfortable in that nest for those chicks or whatever they call young eagles. So she removes some of the feathers. The wind blows some of the feathers away. The little pieces of straw that have now gotten dry, or things of that nature. So the nest becomes uncomfortable. And the reason the nest should become uncomfortable at a certain size, weight for the birds is so that they'll go out on their own, that they will fly, that they will soar, that they will take a few tumbles to get out of the nest first. But the fact that they knew when they returned to the nest, each time it was a little less comfortable. It was more cumbersome upon them to want to get away from the nest and fly and have that surge of life. And that's that's the pastoral delivery. He was talking about the eagle's nest. Sometimes you got to make it a little uncomfortable. In the beginning, yes, but towards the end, for the growth, for the things that you want, for the things you desire for your children to fly, maybe you shouldn't make that nest so comfortable. He related that to our walk in Christ. I walk in faith.
Right. I mean, that was great, and I believe that would be a great sermon. I will go on YouTube and listen to that.
He goes on YouTube.
You know what I'm saying, and watch because that's how you pick up things. So
C.L. Franklin.
The C.L. Franklin,
great preacher.
And then you go listen to that. But this guy was talking about he was
diminishing
that great sermon,
and
he was diminishing it. And then she comes on and sings. He says, "I'm going to watch it." And then the same people in the end who were cheering for him in the Eagle's Nest was also cheering for her a little bit after 10.
So why
should this is my point.
What's the point? Make that point.
This is my point.
You're going to have to go to 8.
I see no difference, no separation between, because it's all black culture. When they say, oh, music, the musical chords and everything come from out of the church, actually, because of the fact that black people created that music, because in white churches they don't have that type of music, so it's black people creating the music and the chords, and when it goes into so-called what they call secular music, it's still black people creating those chords. So there is no separation, because it's the common denominator is we read the Bible and took it and created this. They took it, they followed us in with music, and then they started doing hymns. And everyone knows when you go to a white church and you go to a European American church, or you go to a black American church, and you will hear the difference between the sermons. And everyone who comes into our church and say, "Wow, I never knew it was like this," because they are solemn and sullen and fire and brimstone and nothing. And so when you watch Black Book TV 18.6 KM, I mix in everything. There is no segregation.
There is no I in team.
No. Yeah, it is. It's an I. Yes, it's an I in team when you win. Michael Jordan said that. It's not an I in team, but it's not an I in team, but it's an I in win, and that's what he was mainly.
Brother Paul.
Oh wow!
I gotta take that.
Brother Paul. Well, go ahead. I'll keep talking while you go do your thing.
Hey, how are you?
Okay, people. So Franklin had to break away because he had an important call he had to do. But anyway, there is no I in team, but there's I in win. So when I'm programming the station, I make sure that there is no segregation between genres, because there isn't. It's all from the black experience being in European America. And so we're here. So tell us what you think. You know, type in something, we'll give you some responses, because I'm sitting right here, and my other half isn't here. You know, anything can happen in live broadcasting as far as streamcasting, and so this is what happens. You know what I mean? So sitting here just chewing the fat, waiting until my to the other half of the podcast comes back, and it looks like he's coming back now. And so that wasn't that long. That was like maybe a minute. And now the other half of the podcast is back. And now
it was already a half. What are you talking about?
To the band.
Halfway out of here.
To the banter. The banter.
Is that what it is?
All right. So
hold up, man. I lost the page.
Oh wow.
I'm back. So I'm live. Hey Tracy.
Yeah.
Who's Tanya?
I don't know what she said.
Tanya M. Ellsbury. She got a long time.
What she said? Because I can't see it. I don't see it on my phone. What did she say?
We have to stop. We have to stop being moved by people that don't matter. What? That's
right.
That's right. It's
right.
pink.
It's pink with thin lips. Somebody needs to say it just like that back at them.
Well, I don't know what she's going with.
Oh, she was talking about that. That was a comment that came in when we were talking about shaving down the monkeys and finding out what the monkey really looks like. No, I mean, you read the comment. We just having to go back to it. It just recycled because you read it late. So anyway, so look.
So she's for shaving monkeys?
Yeah, man. You have to shave monkeys to let people know what time the monkey is. Just because the monkey has black hair doesn't mean that it looks black. Let's shave it down. Let's see what it really looks like. Let's shave it real good. Get the straight razor, straighten it down, and see what it really looks like. Thin lips, thin behind.
No, immature and
no behind.
You shouldn't.
And then what is it?
That's not responsible.
Who's the real?
That's not responsible. I'm going to be responsible to take the high road in that way.
In this situation.
No
but you have to strike fire with fire.
That's not
it's very important. You have to definitely watch the film review, movies, music, culture, and whatever else comes to mind. We went to go see the film Operation Finale. Now, like I said in the podcast, there was no way. When we were going to the theater, I said, there's no way that the Jewish producers, directors, the Jewish writers could even put anything in that would have to do with white supremacy, racism against black people, because this is a movie about the Holocaust. And so I want you to go on the page, go into YouTube, you can go into Crazy Dee, or you can go on to Lordland Films on YouTube, or you can go to Crazy Dee right here, scroll down, and you will see the film review that we did, and watch it and you find out why. And find out why.
Tell us what happened. Tell us what happened. Come on.
No. Find out why you should go to these movies that are not traditionally pushed to you.
Tell us.
So that you.
Tell us.
So that you.
Stop. Tell us.
Can learn what they're talking about and how they slide in racist tropes into movies, thus keeping the thought process. All I know is the nigger went across in the movie, and that's right. Hey.
Damn, man, we had how many shows and we never said that?
Nigger went across the screen in the film. Hey, I can say it 100 times. Excuse my teeth white. Paul Mooney. But anyway, so
Paul Mooney's a comedian genius, though.
So this goes across the air. It goes across in the movie, and it's not rebutted. It's not done, and there's. But anyway, watch the film review. I want you to go there and watch it, and then go see the film.
Don't go see
and
it.
Figure. Yes, you have to go see it because you do have to go see. Next year. You do have to go see what people look like and how they act when they're in their right minds.
Oh, who says that?
And they go after people who have done evil to them, and they go after to get justice, revenge, or even worse. So make sure that you go see that film. Man, so it's very important that you go see this film. Yeah, it's about imaging because they tell us, oh, we should forget.
We don't have a government or a
never forget.
We don't have a government or a country.
They didn't either.
Yes, they did. Israel
was there.
Israel.
Though that was the Palestinians' land. That was the Palestinians. In the Bible,
you don't know that.
Ishmael and Isaac, there is actually not supposed to be a division because God gave Isaac through Abraham the covenant and gave Ishmael through Hagar, gave her the land. This is what it says in Genesis. This is what it says. So there is
now.
So I mean, this is why they gave it, because they said they are the tribe that's supposed to have the land, but there's a whole nother situation going on because Abraham not only had Hagar first at the behest of Sarah, and then later God comes to him in person with two other angels who actually go down and destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. But meanwhile, he said, you're going to have a baby. And he said, well, I'm up in age, I'm going to have a baby. And so he said, you would have the covenants and the Ishmaelites, which are the Arabs, would have the land. That's what it says.
Everything is unclear.
I know everything is unclear because the European has made it unclear. The European has made it unclear, but it is very clear. It's very clear for people who read.
Oh boy,
it's very clear. You don't listen to what people say. Go read it for yourself. Go read it for yourself.
You said the Bible is a
go read it. Go read it. I mean, that's why are they over there? People. Wait a minute. Let's go. No. You already expressed it. You can get to that. But the main point is the people who are religious, fervently religious, who are Jewish, believe that there is some atonement that is going to take place in the Holy Land. That is their story.
That's not their story.
That is the story that they believe, and they believe that when it happens, they will have an atonement.
It's not the story.
Yes, it is. That's the story. I mean, have you ever read Revelation?
Have you ever read Revelation?
Have you read? I've read
it. It's not in the Torah. So that's the story.
No.
That they go by.
That's the first 5 books.
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm not going by the Bible.
There's
I'm
other
not going
books.
by the
There's
Bible.
Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
Not going by none of that. Not going by none of that.
And then, wait a minute. The people who go to church on Sunday follow Paul, the apostle. Are we right or wrong on that?
Wrong.
Because Paul interprets what Jesus says. He's not even a disciple.
You don't know that.
He's an apostle. He was not around at the same time that Jesus was there. I mean,
the reality.
I can't help what people
have
not learned. All they have to do is Google the difference between disciple and apostle. Disciple means that they're there. Apostle is a person that subscribes to the teachings of someone that they were not around. Look up the definitions. And then when you see here, when they say Apostle Paul was not there. Disciple was there at the time with Jesus. That is the definitions. Now, I can only go by the English language. It's the language that we know. But when you break it down,
whenever you stop, I'll just chop you. Let me know, because you're repeating.
That's what I'm saying. I didn't repeat myself. I just went further.
Say it again.
I went
just
further.
Dig the hole. Keep digging.
I don't have to dig the hole.
Keep digging.
Just look up the definitions.
No. Keep digging.
And you will find out. I don't have to dig the hole.
You ready?
But I will say it again so that people get it 3 times. Look up the definition of disciple and apostle. And you'll find that apostle was not there, but subscribes to the teachings of the person who they admire or want to I'm thinking of the word, want to make themselves more like they follow that, and thus they come up with their own interpretations of what the teacher taught, because the teacher's not there. The disciple was actually there. And that's the definitions.
Say it.
You know what I'm saying?
That's all.
No, I have to say it again. I have to say it
You
again.
ready? You ready?
That's it. Go ahead.
Buckle up.
Buckle up.
Because you're quoting the Bible.
Buckle up, buckle.
You're quoting the Bible.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
The Bible story was changed. This man named Paul never really existed. If he did exist, as we heard from Brother Paul, Professor Paul Williams, who I personally know, who've been here, and came out to Las Vegas, the Bible is a fictitious story and account of different things. These names did not exist. This name, even as you're talking about with Jesus, and I'm not against spirituality and faith, but I'm believing that you're quoting a book that says a certain region, and I'm not believing in that book. It is a story of fables about individuals who may or may not have existed.
It's an allegory, man.
I'll let you go on with your whole thing. The whole thing is you're quoting from a book, from a historian about this is where they belong and this is that. Apostle, there were no apostles. The story didn't happen that way. There were no disciples because those languages, as you know, have been changed. The story of Jesus, the stories within the context of the Bible, all arose from other factual things that happened in the land of Egypt and Samaria, Sudanese, in that area where the original man became popular. They became popular because we know the structures that they left, we know the mathematics that they incorporated, we know the original medicines, the books and stones. I saw with Professor Asher Crazy. I'm believing in spirituality. I would like to believe that a person such as these people you're talking about walks amongst this man that you also are talking about, Jesus, and they did it in that land. But the reality for me, I have to understand, I've been there, I've seen some things, I know some things. Everything that came out of that, stories. The reality of where they placed the Israeli people at that time was where the landmass would allow, due to the political turmoil that existed and the lack of resources and the knowledge of the resources that the Jews had to bring that area up. It was simply a political decision to place them in what they call the land where all religions started. Because Bethlehem, as you would know, is definitely a religious site for some things. All major religions and foundations came out of it. Not all, but the big three. Because Buddha, who knows where that was? Even the man named Buddha, we know he existed because there's stories about him in other fables. There are other relationships to things that he has done that relate to taxes. If there was a man named Jesus, if there were these stories with Paul and telling these things, the factual statements of the time and the language that the people had, there would have been other accounts of their doings. But we know there was Osset. We know there was Osiris. We know there were kings and queens at Kemet. We know there were stories that they had that they left in stone. That the Bible and the original Sephardic Jews churches, which were the Jewish churches or churches of faith or temples of worship, where their writings are inscribed in the Sudan, exist in Ethiopia and the Sudan.
Ethiopia.
And the Sudan.
Ethiopia.
Okay. And the Sudan. But through that region, all of those spiritual stories, whether it is the story of Muhammad, because as you would know, when people would confess, yes, believe in him, there are no accounts of his other beings and things. It's all about faith, and each region has developed, or each individual, which is what faith is about, has their own spirituality that they should be in tune with. But the stories that you're saying in terms of disciple, Paul, this, that, I'm not with that, because they would have to have been in the accounting that we take for record for real. And for me, having seen other things and recognizing, yes, there may have been some people who did those things, but several of those stories incorporated over a large region of early man-known transcribed civilization makes it as such. And they were all in the same area. Jews, they had fights with the Sudanese. Sudanese had fights with the Ethiopians. Ethiopians had problems with the Sumerians. It's all on the walls of stone. It's there for us to transcribe. Unfortunately, due to where we are now in the world, the transcriptions have kind of ceased and things of that nature. Man has been removed and lost through time. But all those stories, as I said, I'm not with the faith or this or lack of the faith. You should have faith. But isn't that what the whole spirituality is, or the thing of Jesus is free will or whatever? So the reason you have Israel and those places is due to the fact that they were looking for a place that was in, and I mean several governments after the war, mainly United States and Russia, where they didn't want them and where they had kicked them out of those areas, or actually they had been exterminated out of those areas in your favorite word, Europe. they found a place for them with economic stress, turmoil, where they could relocate them and format them. The same thing was done between India.
Under what guise?
Under the guise.
Under the guise of what?
Under the guise of the UN. The UN.
No.
The UN.
What? Okay. UN. What? What do they put? Why are they there to the average woman and man? What is pumped to the average woman and man? Why they are there in the Holy Land? They are the chosen people.
Right,
and all I said, Franklin, was that the story says that there are two offspring. One is supposed to have the covenant. The other one is supposed to have the land. One is supposed to be till the land. The other one is supposed to
based on what?
make.
Who says that they were the chosen people?
No.
The chosen people comes out of what? Comes out of what? The Bible or the Torah? Which is going to change your faith?
Listen
to faith.
Listen to what I'm saying.
I don't accept the chosen people term.
Listen to
do
what
you?
I'm saying. So then that means that they shouldn't be there because there are groups of people who believe. I just spoke to a pastor who took a trip over. Let me finish. A pastor took trips over there and
who's talking to us?
Wait a minute. Took trips over there and found
what?
And found the Jews and found things and said, well, actually it is the Jewish land. So people believe. People believe it.
That doesn't
people
make it
believe
a fact.
it. And so listen. This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. Listen to what I'm saying.
I'm not listening to that.
Now listen to you. Listen.
That's what he says. He's wrong.
These are allegories.
Not allegories.
These are allegories are what? Stories to explain something.
Possibly.
They are not necessarily what?
Allegories are there to.
They are not necessarily
Facts.
what?
Facts.
Factual.
Facts.
Exactly.
They're to provoke
but
thought.
We are moving with people. We're talking to people on here that all I'm doing is bringing the argument as far as what's in the book. Right?
Not the book.
We
the
have
no.
Listen.
Wait.
Let me finish. Now you just said that it comes.
Real.
Listen, it comes
like
from
the pillow.
Franklin, can I finish?
Go ahead, man. You're trying.
Listen. I'm not trying anything because I'm not trying to disprove what you said. I'm not trying to disprove it.
All right.
Because I've already said what my process was telling the story. Right? Okay, so I'm not trying to disprove it.
All right. So
what I'm saying to you is,
Bible's not
what
the
I'm
book.
saying is, you said that there are certain rituals and different things that subscribe to different people, and you can find it on the walls of Egypt and other places in ancient antiquity. Can we say that?
Egypt.
Can we say that?
China, all over. Yes.
Right, we can say that. So, even though it is not necessarily, the stories are factual, they're parables or allegories, the principles and the practices still can get you to that higher spiritual being that can I finish?
Right, man.
That can get you on a better path to make yourself feel better.
Now you're swimming along. I don't know.
No. I'm just saying. Because you're saying who says? Who says?
Yeah,
we just sat up here and watched the funeral. I mean, the homegoing of Aretha Franklin. Everyone got up there, especially the guy who delivered the eulogy. Oh my God!
He was just.
But anyway, he was just all over the place.
Right.
But all throughout the whole thing, they talked about Jesus, and if people are right there, and that's where they at. Sometimes to bring them along, you have to talk to them where they're at, and then bring them along. Say, here, read this now. Read this now. I don't go and talk about everything that I've learned.
I like that
because I'm constantly learning all the time. I don't
go.
I know what I'm saying. So my point is,
bring it home.
Well, my point is, you saying that these are parables or allegories and not actually fact. Who's to say that it's not actually fact, and that the precepts and the practices don't work to bring about a spiritual awakening, even if it's under a different name.
What are you saying, man?
Under a different name.
What are you saying?
Who says that spiritual can't come under Christianity, can't come under Islam, can't come under Egyptian studies. That's my point. Who's saying? Why would we say that it's wrong when in the book itself, in the allegory, it says that there's two sets of people? Wait a minute now. One person. One person is got the covenant. The other one has the land.
Where do you get that from? Where do you get this from?
Genesis.
Okay, so
I don't have my Bible.
Yeah, right.
I have it in Mark. My Bible is ripped up in Mark. I'll bring it next week and show it to you.
No, show me the Bible. I got Bible.
I'll show it. But I'm saying, I don't study myself. And listen, I don't study myself approved to be approved in front of other men and say, yeah, I'm kicking it, and I can kick both these words up top of my head. I can go there and show you in the book because I got it tabbed up, and we can go there and read it. I'm not trying to impress man. I'm just living my life and trying to get through and make sure that black people are seen, heard, recognized, and appreciated until I check out this place. That's all.
All right, so here we go.
My competition is only those who oppress me, and I'm here to fight against them until I check out this boy. That's it. Okay, so go ahead.
Here we go.
I mean, that's all. I'm pretty simple when it comes to it. I mean, it's pretty simplistic.
Let me get back to you. Let me just put you where you are.
Go ahead.
You just cited Genesis, right? You keep citing the Bible, right? I keep telling you, that's not the book. I keep telling you that, and you agreeing with it to some extent because you recognize the words that have come in the end of the Bible, which is one of your favorite words, European made and transcribed and given to the masses throughout the world. So what I'm trying to get you to grab is, as long as you continue to use that as the focal point for your dialogue, you are out, in my opinion, because you're using a book that, as you would say, in your words, based on allegories. I'm trying to tell you that those stories I'm believing. Just like you ever play that movie, that game, you get operated. If you say one thing in this part of the room, by the time it gets to that part of the room, it's a different story. What I'm representing to you is you're talking about the chosen one, and these are the facts you was working with. Don't, you jump around. But if it is that your point, just like your last point, you said was Genesis, you say it was in the book, and that the perceptions are such, that's Christianity that was given to us based on the transcriptions on the wall that I expressed to you. So I'm giving to you, when you say the Bible, that it's in Genesis, when it's in Daniel, when it's in the story of Paul, all of that for me is out. Because that book, as you would know, was created and transcribed by other folks, and those were based on stories that I have seen. But
unfortunately, other folks were not bright enough.
You don't know what they were.
The other folks were not bright enough.
You don't know what they were.
Wait a minute, hold it, can I finish? They were not bright enough to eliminate the truth. The truth is still in the book. If you wipe away, wipe away the stories, you said that the stories that are on the walls are in the book. It's just different names and transcribed from different people.
Several different stories.
But okay, from antiquity. Okay, we're forming the foundation. These are stories from antiquity. Wait a minute now. Who it was also parables. Under different names.
You don't know that
parables and stories.
Facts. You don't
stories,
know that.
Allegories.
To you.
Okay, wait a minute. Let me finish now. Let me finish now. So, you take that and you apply it, but they were not smart enough to go on ahead and remove the lessons from the story. So if you go, most people don't read the lessons in the story. They read, am I Christian? I can read the Bible and say, hey, a person that's Muslim can read the Bible and say, I'm Muslim. A person who reads the Al-Quran can read the Quran and say, I'm Christian. Because the precepts and the teachings are still there. They weren't smart enough to remove the meat. They tried to give you nothing but bone by changing the names, but they were not bright enough to change the teaching.
You said 3 times they're not bright. It's not about them being bright enough to change the teaching. I understand, you may understand the parable and the lesson and the thought-provoking things that are in the Bible to generate that kind of stuff. What I'm trying to give you is because the stories were transcribed at different levels in different places, it's open for subject. And since to me it's open for subject, and as I said, the original stories, the few that I did see or that I did witness when I had the opportunity to go to Egypt, make the stories a little different. I'm not saying that the fact of the meat hasn't been changed, but I'm also recognizing that the Christianity that has been given to us, or many suppressed us here in this country, was also to capture the mind. But as we look at the clock, because I got to go pick up my car, so I'm gonna figure. And you're right, they weren't smart enough. They have to be smart to move the true fact, and that's the spirituality of the Bible, the Torah, Muhammad, the Quran, and things of that nature. These are just stories. Every man has their own, or person, and I use the word man or woman, has their own spirituality level that they can deal with. Some's higher, some's lower, some can do wrong, some can do right. The bottom line is these stories I'm trying to, as we were talking, your point, that you were basing these things out of, talking about Israel and why their land placement did, because they said they were the chosen ones, which is the original argument before you got...
No, we're not under there because we had to unpack it and express it. But the main point is the average person believes.
I'm not going with the average person because I don't perceive myself to be an average person or you.
Is the average person, well, you know I don't believe it. But what I'm saying to you is the average person, the average person believes that those are the chosen people. And that's what has been fed to them.
No, they don't.
Even people who were stumped down against Jewish people, who were Southern people, who black people had to hide Jewish salesmen in the South when it came down south. Those same people now say, "Oh, Israel, we're all for Israel." Yes, they do because they have been indoctrinated with the fact that is supposed to be their land. I had a UPS driver, and he sat up there and tried to argue me down. Well, it's supposed to be their land. I said the Palestinians. It was the Palestinians' land.
UPS driver.
I mean, because you talk to every day. People, because in fact, in my store, I didn't talk down to people. We had discussions. That's how you exchange ideas, and hopefully, the seeds that I planted germinated in his mind, and he realized that these 17th century converts aren't necessarily. But anyway, people, wait, look at this right here. Look at this right here. Did you see? Do you see this? My man right here, Franklyn G, Making America Great Again, has an Oscar. Look. Let me get closer to the screen so you can see the Oscar. You see him? No, because when you turn it around, it's not an Oscar, but it is. It is.
It's an award presented to me by the AME Church out here, the Fountain of Hope. Thank you, Pastor McLeod and First Lady and all the folks over there. They had a big award ceremony.
You see this? You see this? Let's put that. Do you see that? Do you see that? Do you see what it says right there?
EP, give me the platform to get some of the things done. To
you see
try
that?
To expose, encourage, and do it. We do right here just dialogue with black people.
And you see how you see why I program the channel like I do, where there is no segregation between. I talked about it a little bit. There's no segregation between
18.6.
the event, between the content, because it's all a black experience. Even though Franklin doesn't necessarily believe in the precepts in the book, he still gets the award from the AME Church.
Won't he do it?
Won't he do it? Won't he do it? You see what I'm saying? So even though he doesn't believe, in all the precepts in the Bible, but he believes in some, right? Because he saw them on the walls. He said, "Hey, that fits," and because of that, boom, he still gets this because there is no divide. When you get to a certain level on all this, and you're fighting this struggle, there is no divide between Christian, Muslims, Buddhists, Hare Krishna, whatever, hippie movement. Whatever, Black Panthers, whatever, there is no divide because we're all moving in the same place. We just have different ways of going about it. So he gets this award, and that's why we sit up every Friday or Saturday. We sit up and we bring this content because we have things that we agree on, and then we have things that we don't agree on. But it's okay because
it's usually wrong.
This is what Willie,
tell them where they can see it, man. Let's do a few things. Big shout out to me. That's Brian.
Brian Harris.
Brian Harris, he's doing the Nat Turner. He's turning the TV on. From I guess August 1st. Today's August 30th. 31st. 30th. We've been up and broadcasting for the past 30 days, which is a feat for Las Vegas. If you get it, 18.6 HW what?
It's K Hemp.
K Hemp. And you know, if you don't happen to have, did you also understand what's the name said he saw also Fire Stick?
Yeah, we're on Fire Stick because we're well. Let's finish talking about because we're also on Bob TV.
Keep going, man.
So no. Let's talk about keep talking about Brian Harris.
We're right here in Vegas. All of that is happening because these guys, Brian and my man Crazy Dee have worked together to put some stuff together to get it on. Whatever is happening is on. And there are several things that he has over time because he's been doing this for a minute. As you realize, you know, he's been out in the community doing a lot of Vegas stuff, but he got some Midwest stuff up there. He's got some girls doing arm wrestling. He's got some church stuff up there. It's a total challenge. And he's got Brian up there doing his show. So if you got things that you want to broadcast,
wait a minute. And we got you up there doing your show. Don't cut it off short.
It's all good. It's all
don't
good.
Cut it off short.
Put it on.
Don't cut yourself short. You see this?
I'm going for the 8 o'clock. At the 8 o'clock, you can come on as many times, but still, I want to be the Carol O'Connor, if you will, the James Brown, whatever it is.
Already, it just started, and automatically people are going Hollywood, away for Hollywood. He's ready for his close-up, Mr. Spike Lee.
The bottom line is it's up, it's happening, it's running. You can check this out. Hopefully you'll be watching this program on there. We just get into it. We got 45 right here on the wall. We talk about a lot of things. Yeah, I'm wearing the hat for Tracy, because Terry, not Tracy.
Tell him why you wear the hat. So
you got to capture the image back. Yeah, make America great again. Ain't I part of America? So wouldn't it be great for me? That means we're going to make the NBA season longer. We're going to make football season longer. That means we're going to make the school day longer. That means everybody gets collard greens whenever they want it. All that kind of nonsense. The bottom line is part of America means if they're doing well, we should have just as much wealth or have the opportunity to amass just as much wealth as those, because I am part of America too. Again, I want to thank the AME.
Tracy said, "Congratulations, Franklin."
Thank you. I want to say thanks again because I was in running. They had an Academy Awards ceremony. It was in Seven Hills. It was a big place. You know, they had all kind of foo people. It was a big program. They had several elected officials there. Got to give a big shout out to Dr. Pat Spearman, who won the, I forgot what her title was, but as the politician run, they had her, Aaron Force, also Dr. Beverly Mantis, who runs a charter school here, who has a feature school. She was a principal here for a long time. And actually the school named after her. She got the education. Myself, AK, when I saw the names, I was just like, come on, be for real. AK, she does a lot of stuff. The stuff she does, I cannot do. So big shout out to AK. She's part of the Breakdown crew. She's a local philanthropist. I'm going to call her that because she reaches out to the community and does stuff. If there's a need, she's an actress and an A1 comedian. So she does a lot of stuff in the community. So I figured she was going to get it. But then I saw they had Roxanne McCoy, who's the president of the local chapter here at NAACP, 1111, who sits down with the sheriff, who sits down with the mayor. She makes stuff happen. If you need stuff happen, she gets it out there. So I'm like, I know what. And then they had Reverend Troy, who does a lot of stuff with the gangs and the young kids. And I was like, man, I just talk on TV and have a few programs. But when they said my name, I was like, oh, I almost cursed in there. And I was like, well, I'm serious. I was shocked. I mean, don't get me wrong. AK. NAACP, you know, don't get me wrong.
Okay, so
also coming from a church, I was like,
okay. He's rambling, so let's cut this short.
Cut it short. We get
let's
out
cut
of
it short. Let's cut it short.
Okay,
but also,
I gotta go get my car.
You'll see this on Black Book TV soon. Probably Monday or Tuesday. Damn. You know, because we have Tantalizing Thursdays debuts next Thursday, and
that's the
Flipping Friday. Debuts next week.
Wait a minute. And Weed Wednesdays.
Yeah, that's right. Weed Wednesdays already debuted, and then on Sunday is debuting Interceding Sundays.
Amen.
That's right. Interceding Sundays. We have content from great churches that you're going to be able to see that I shot. You know what I mean? So stay tuned for that because, like I said, I shoot everything in the Black diaspora. I don't segregate or discriminate. That's what I like about Franklin. Franklin, when he does his events, he invites all of the different factions of black empowerment to come together to be one in understanding Kemet in the desert. You know what I mean? That's right. Men who cook.
Forgot it. That's going to be next week. We'll talk about that because it's already together. So I'm looking at the clock. I got to go pick up my thing. It closes at 6. It's half an hour away. So I'm going to press out, move on. As
okay,
always,
so we got to go. We got to go. So you have been watching another great episode of Nothing But the Facts.
Rest in peace, Aretha.